It is being described as an unprecedented clash between a federal court and the White House. Yesterday, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals challenged the president over his comments that the Supreme Court is comprised of a group of unelected justices. Now, by noon tomorrow, the Department of Justice must spell out exactly what the president meant and if the justices do, in fact, have the right to overturn Obamacare. And joining me tonight with reaction, the author of the New York Times #1 bestseller, Culture of Corruption, Michelle Malkin. Has the president, Mr. Constitutional Scholar, Law Review, ever heard of Marbury Madison, 1803, Chief Justice John Marshall, quote, a law repugnant to the Constitution is void, unquote?
Yeah, well, now we've got the Fifth Circuit assigning homework not only to Obama, but of course to all of his lawyer minions at the Justice Department and with the Attorney General's office, and they'll be scrambling to meet this high noon deadline. It is a humiliating spanking for the Obama administration, and it's about time. It's also not a coincidence, Sean, that this order is coming from the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, because this judiciary knows probably more than any other across the country how this administration has shown determined disregard for the law. And that is a phrase that came from one of the judges that the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals upheld when they were having to deal with the Obama administration flouting the law on the drilling moratorium. They know how this administration operates, and now they're making them pay a price, and I think it's a good thing.
Now, it's not the first time. This is unprecedented because it's in the middle. The court hasn't even decided here. And he could make his opinions known. He's free to do so. But it's at the time when this decision is not final, it seems to me to be intimidation. Now, this is not the first time the president did this. If you remember at the State of the Union address, you can see Justice Alito say, not true. Watch this.
Last week, the Supreme Court reversed a century of law that I believe will open the floodgates for special interests, including foreign corporations, to spend without limit in our elections.
He's a repeat offender.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, why do you think the president has doubled down on this? Why do you think the president would do this? What do you think is, he's out there attacking anybody and everything because his policies have failed, now attacking Paul Ryan. He is not attacking the Senate that has not done their constitutional duty and voted on a budget in 1,000 days, or passed one.
Yeah, well, clearly he's not trying to intimidate the Supreme Court. I mean, that's the conventional interpretation of this. They've, from what we understand, they've already had these deliberations, right? Okay, so what is this really about? This is about pandering to the left-wing flank and trying to make Obama look like what he isn't, a strong, competent president in charge of himself, his administration, and the country. And let me just say something about this word unprecedented, because it's one of those weasel words and phrases that come out of the mouths of politicians. They can't help themselves. It's like this, it's this verbal tick that he has. And we've had every last liberal journalist and liberal law professor now disavow themselves from Obama's comments. He's walked them back. His press secretary has walked them back because obviously history is certainly not on his side. Even his mentor, the liberal law professor Lawrence Tribe, had to admit that Obama made a quote-unquote mistake. Well, why is he saying it? It's all because he thinks that if he repeats this lie often enough, people will believe it. Hopefully the people will not be sheeple about it.
All right. Good to see you as always. Thank you, Michelle Malkin. Plenty more to come tonight.
You bet.
Hannity